See?
And we are now live, and welcome to a very special live Q&A and screening with Bobby Crawford. I'm Stacy, your host and moderator. We are just going to hold off just a minute or two while people tick in. We're at 28 right now. This is great. Bobby, you want to say hi?
Oh, I didn't realize I am visible, am I?
Yeah, you are live.
Good morning to all, or is it afternoon already in parts of the world? Wonder where everybody's clicking in from.
Oh yeah, let's open the chat window. If you click on chat, there'll be a sidebar there for you, Bobby, and you can see everybody.
Okay, I got one chat from Joni.
Yeah.
Hello.
Uh,
I have a couple of people who have said hello in the Q&A.
yes.
Carla and Tammy.
There we go. Hello. So we've got a really full schedule here. So we're going to go ahead and start. How are we at? Oh, we're at 33, and it's 11:05. We do want to start the Rifleman, the second witness, which is one of 3 appearances that Bobby made as a guest on the Rifleman in the first season before he got busy with Laramie. It is the longest. He has the most lines in this one, but I like it because there's a brilliant fight scene. We will start that here in a minute. Okay, well, that was delightful. We've already got some questions. I'm going to try to focus on the Rifleman questions first, and then we've got a lot of other topics going. Let's see. And for those of you who, somebody did join us midway, and I want to let you know, if you have questions, type them into the Q&A. If you have general hellos and comments, type them in the chat window, because I need to be able to find the questions without having to read everything. And so we have Joni Vance asks, Bobby, did you and Johnny fight a lot as kids? Fight looks like the hits really hurt.
The hits in the stage fight didn't hurt at all. As I recall, we just used to wrestling with each other, and we loved to wrestle. And we would have arguments. I don't remember them. And sometimes I guess it would turn into sounding like a battle, because I just remember one instance. We had an upstairs, downstairs. We were downstairs in the area at the foot of the stairs. It was sort of like an office area. Anyway, my Grams was upstairs. She was living with us. And I remember her yelling, "He's killing him. He's going to kill him." And so I guess we made a lot of noise. But I just don't remember. I realize now as I look that I was a little bigger than John. I always felt that we were about the same size. And so I'm sure as the bigger brother, I must have taken it out on him a bit. I do remember we just loved our shoot and shell guns. And I would bushwhack him when he'd come in the evening if I got in bed before he did. We had bunk beds, and he slept in the lower bed that sort of rolled out from mine. And that was a game I remember enjoying. We also had a machine gun at the bottom of the stairs. It shot wooden bullets up to the top. And the trick was to dodge the bullets and get down to the machine gun. And we played that game a lot. So we were into play violence. It was great to be able to shoot people and get up again and do it again. And the reality of what that meant, in fact, I think even in watching The Rifleman, was all good fun to watch. And we didn't get into the truth of what life and death meant. And we were blessed as kids that nobody close to us died while we were young. So that's my recollection and thinking about our wrestling together.
That's awesome. Lori Hancock wants to know, she says, you and Johnny say "paw" differently. Did Johnny really say "paw" the way he did on the show in real life?
I don't recall him sounding different. I think perhaps as he grew, I haven't watched enough Riflemen. The fact is, to see him grow up on it, I see him hit and miss, and I think it's something I'm saving up for my old age. And approaching, I like to say I'm in my 77th year, and I've been able to so far dodge the aging bullet by a few decades, I feel. So what I say is, this is a joy to watch this Rifleman and the few I do get around to. And there's so much to watch on TV in my life that I'm not catching up on. So I get to do this periodically when we have an event like this, and I get to see a Laramie or two or a rifleman or two. And I find them treasures to see with this perspective.
Okay, so Sue Rutter says, this is kind of fun. It's the idea of a crossover episode. I don't know if they did those back then. Did Johnny ever visit you as a character on Laramie?
My run at Laramie was just one season, and what we shot in that season carried over into the second season. But we were too brief. I was there too briefly to do that. And I realized looking back, I was also not much of a business boy. I had ambitions to be a businessman, but in my early teens there, this was all just magic happening. And it was like going to camp. And I kept looking at it saying, I have no idea how anybody gets the next job, let alone how you promote yourself in the business. And somehow my dad, as an editor, was always something shy about really being self-promoting. He was a very avid fencer and a champion at it and other things. But the business of business was something we didn't develop, although his dad had been quite a Napoleon of the music business and very successful. It didn't seem to occur to me, and has only in my later life do I look back and say, what opportunities I missed along the way.
That leads right into Kathy Esty Sparks' question. She wanted you to talk about your dad, which you just did, and your musical ties that go back to your grandparents. So what's left to answer her question is, are your kids or grandkids musical or theatrical?
I have, my daughter is a brilliant gal, and she's writing screenplays yet to be produced and working for a director who's had some success, and his projects are still in limbo. And she has become a stand-up comic. She was the lead in plays from the time she was in kindergarten, and every now and then somebody would ask if she wanted an agent. And she just recalled that I said, you want to grow up before you get into this. And it can warp you as a child. And she said, so she would decline those opportunities. And I wasn't really very much aware of it. I just figured she would get discovered along the way. And she's still waiting to be discovered, but very successful in her stand-ups. My two sons have gravitated to the business gradually. My oldest boy, Chris, went to San Francisco State and studied cinematography and show business, and did it over the course of 7 undergraduate years in San Francisco, otherwise occupied, I'm sure, but has ended up making a career of it bit by bit by bit. And he's now what they call a predator on America's Got Talent, which means he's a producer editor on the episodes, and has been doing it now, I think, about 7 years. And my middle boy, Matt, is trained as a lawyer and gone to law school and practiced law for a while and came out to California. Finally, he studied back in New York and Boston, was gone for 10 years, and came home and has decided he doesn't want to be a lawyer, but he's got a job as what they call a clearance producer for reality shows. And I've forgotten the name. There's the Recklessness, and there was another one, but he works for a mid-sized company and is now doing 2 jobs in sort of that field and making something of a good living. And I'm hopeful that he too will find his partner, life partner. He's with a wonderful lady now for 3 years, and we keep saying, and my wife in a text just the other day was talking about they don't want a blood diamond, and then Matt responded, and by the way, Shannon's on this text. So they talked about it. We're hopeful. that was a long way around to say, yes, my kids are all somehow all in the business of business, and I've been no help to them whatsoever. My inhibition about being an entrepreneur persists. Um, but somehow it's been a rather magical life for us all. They're very well educated, motivated, and finding their way. And I'm a great cheerleader. They feel the support.
I'm sure they do. And I wish I would have known, I think I think your son was here in San Francisco while I was here, and we could have had fun together. So let's see. Robin wants to know, when did Johnny start his rodeo career, and did you have one as well? Now that Robin has seen the videos of Johnny's rodeo performance, it makes his Western TV performances even more real.
Well, he was very ambitious to be a real cowboy, as he says, and what we saw yesterday, a couple of those interviews, it was formative for him, and just God sent that he got the Rifleman and was surrounded by these wranglers and Monty Montana, and I've forgotten the name of the wrangler he was talking about last night, that showed him how to trick rope, and he was more interested in the rope than the guns and the horses, and learned to ride and fall off, and just wanted to be a cowboy. And he earned that right as a Hollywood cowboy on the set and around them for those 5 years. And as he was graduating high school and planning to go to Pierce College, which did have a agricultural segment, but they also had rodeo there at this junior college out in the valley. And I forget just how it turned out, and I get mixed up in the years because I can't get this timetable straight, what happened between 62 and 65. But I believe it was 64 he graduated Hollywood High, and we took that summer. He got himself a gold Oldsmobile and a gold horse trailer and put 2 bits in it. And we took off on the road and went up to Wyoming, where he met up with Gene McLaughlin's brother, Don McLaughlin, who is a champion many times calf roper. And along that way, he had been doing some junior rodeo bronc riding. And in that summer, he did a whole junior rodeo circuit. And we traveled from Wyoming down to Arizona and Texas, and stops along the way in Colorado, one junior rodeo after the next for about 2 months. And I was in awe of that. That's a long, short story, and I didn't get to the years we spent when John first went on tour his first season. A rancher in St. Louis said, "I'm going to send you a pony." He sent him 2 bits as a colt of about 6 months. And John immediately began training, as you see in these photos, 2 bits to be a trick horse and to lay down and ride. And along the way and over those years, as we did the junior rodeo, John made him a calf roping horse that summer, and continued to keep him in tow for the next 20 years or so. I've forgotten when 2 bits passed, but Johnny was team roping with him, and then with other people into the turn of the century. And I think up to 2000 and something, I've forgotten just where it sort of winnowed down. But the actual bronc riding, I think my dad and maybe John figured out the brain concussions you might be getting as you're banging your brain around on those broncs and hitting the ground, and being lucky because nobody wore helmets in those days. And he's come close to getting kicked in the head, but didn't. And being youthful, he never had any long-term injuries doing it. So we had this great time in Griffith Park riding our horses, and through John and Laramie, I was able to get a quarter horse, a race horse that was thoroughbred quarter horse, and that was Silly Troy. And so John and I had for about 3 years, each of us a horse, and we'd spend almost every weekend out there grooming him and riding him in Griffith Park. Made me a Hollywood cowboy, but John really became the real cowboy.
That's great. We've got, Kathy wanted to go back real quick to your daughter. She wants to know, remind you of her daughter's name. And she does have a YouTube channel, doesn't she, with some of her stand-up?
She does. Kayla Crawford, you can't miss her if you just, it's Kaela and Crawford, and you'll see she's got a whole history up there now. The good and the not so good, but really it's getting better all the time. And so she hasn't, I don't think she has a Facebook site. She's not into becoming a celebrity, but she really does enjoy performing. And the stand-up just is so rewarding because she's got 25 people and sometimes 400 people. She does things for Paul Rodriguez, who's a pretty well-known comic, and they'll do shows for even 2,000 people now and then, and she does the lead into those. And so she keeps training, and I expect that eventually she's going to be noticed and probably end up with at least her own channel. She's just finished shooting a short that is going to get posted here, sent out to festivals. She's quite capable.
That's great. Pam in Montana, a good friend of mine. Pam, love you. Bobby, do you enjoy theater or television or making movies more?
Well, that's a hard choice. I haven't done much theater since I was in my teens, and I did love the live performance of it. It was, I would think at my age, I would be nervous about remembering lines. I was always good to respond, but I haven't had the inclination to chase it because, as I've said, I don't see how you make a living doing it. And I've lived just high enough on the hog and a lifestyle I want to keep accustomed to that it keeps me in the financial traces. And so even now I have my part-time job at the union I joined about 20 years ago, and they need some bookkeeping done in this time. And it seems every time I run out of employment, I manage to scramble up the next job. And that's what I've been doing, living paycheck to paycheck in spite of a couple of streams of income. I remember my very wise teacher saying, what you want is about 4 streams, and the Social Security and the pension and the trust fund and your stock investments. And then somehow I still need to get my weekly wage if I can. We'll see how that goes. I'm interested in options as everybody in this COVID time is starting to take the plunge. And having been windswept by the savings and loan crisis and the turns that have happened here, even in California, that hadn't happened in like 60 years of my early life. But real estate dropped 50% in the savings and loan crisis, and then did it again in the 2000 crash. And the starter homes in my neighborhood are 1 million last year, but they're 2 million this year. And there are a few 4 million houses that are just being put on the market for this summer. And we don't live in a Bel Air area, but it's becoming the Bel Air of the Valley. It's all to say, my kids growing up in this town, in this economy, has my head spinning and wondering as we come around. So yeah, I think the market and the whole market is on a very interesting lever at this point that's liable to turn to shake out what they can, as they did with that GameStop thing. And you'll get me off on my new track. I love to talk finance anyhow.
It's a passion, and we very much enjoy hearing you talk about just about anything. Robert Arms would like to know if you, the Crawford family, and Johnny spent much time with Chuck Connors and his family.
Johnny spent a lot of time with Chuck, and I barely knew Chuck. And it's partly because my career took me elsewhere, and John's really at this point, this juncture, Indian Paint, and the next couple of years on, I took off in a production career with George Roy Hill. And that took me out of town a lot and back east for a year or 2 and 3. So we would meet in passing. And I just never had the occasion to be at events with Chuck and get to know him. And John had a second father in Chuck throughout Chuck's life. They were great friends and had a lot of time together. And I'm sorry John's not here to tell you about that, because I don't know about that.
Fair enough. Michelle Butler, who you have met, she's been to all the festivals that you were at last year. She's the one who lives in New Orleans. She wants to know, of all of the times that you got to perform with Johnny, what did you enjoy the most?
I guess I enjoyed every time. I can't say, Indian Paint, we spent most time together, but mostly I'm remembering things we did off the set together, where that was going out with people in the town and spending time in the pool. It was a hot place in summer, and at that point I was just a great pool lover, and I kept wanting to be a good diver, and I was mediocre, but I would do a flip and various diving, and I remember spending most of my summer there, getting off the set and cooling off in the hotel pool. It was a motel pool. And there were a lot of people there. There was a lot of social interaction with the town.
So I'm going to do a trivia question for one of your autographed 8x10s. Let's see. So let me switch over to here. Oh, this is fun. I hope I have the answer right, because IMDb can sometimes be a little thing. So correct me if you're wrong. So what movie did Bobby produce that Johnny starred in? So please type the answer in the chat window, not the question and answer window. And the first person who gets the answer right in the right window will get an autographed 8x10 from Bobby. I'm not seeing any. Is that a stumper? Did I stump you?
You certainly have a movie that's available, but I haven't seen the finished product.
Oh, you haven't seen it. I've seen it once, but it's been a while.
Nobody will know that. I have to look up my filmography. You better jump onto IMDb quick.
Can somebody just type something into the chat to let me know that somebody's there?
You're going to have to ask another trivia question.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Well, they are there. They're just stumped. Yes, Tracy. People would be probably a little sad if you if you got a prize today. You are you are our prize. Let's see. Why don't you go ahead and tell him, Bobby?
Rupert Patterson wants to be a superhero. A funny movie, and Johnny plays 2 roles in it. And it was done on a shoestring in June 1996.
And it's got a release date on IMDb. It was a TV movie. It says on IMDb in 1997. And no, it wasn't The Naked Ape, Brett. That was Playboy, wasn't it?
It surely was their first theatrical release and step into the movie business and television.
You're going to get a Bobby autograph if you get this right, but it is going to be a non-Bobby question. So on what TV show did Johnny guest star along with Chuck Connors as a father and son? Okay, so Lori got the question right first, but she's already won a prize. So the next one is Jan. So Jan, you get it.
And what was the answer?
Paradise. It was Paradise with. Come on, guys, tell me the name of the actor. He was handsome. I forget the lead actor name. It's a good show. Lee Horsley, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, even I go blank sometimes. Okay, so Jan Kincaid gets the autograph. Lori gets the Fast Typer Award, but she's already gotten one of. Remember, folks, with the trivia, it is one prize per person. And there's
Wait a
Ginger.
minute. I want to ask my question.
Yes, Ginger, go for it.
When you were on the Mickey Mouse Club, do you still have your ears? And what was in the mouse treasure chest?
I remember the treasure chest. It was the chest that I had for about 20 years. And then in the moves, it finally went away. And there were games and Disney things, and I can't remember. But
Is your name on the back of them? Is your name written on the back?
There's a little tear in this because this is Johnny's hat. But my grandson had to do a report and a history about the family or something. And so I decided it was the Mickey Mouse Club that we had to talk about, and fencing particularly, because he's got a whole horse and armory of swords, but very little discipline about it. I really want him to start playing tennis. My short story is I took the years over, got a shot of him. I should probably post. But he then told the class about that, and he got one response from a guy who said, "Oh, I looked it up, and Johnny Crawford's your father." And so I have taken the ears, and I'm trying to get them back to Charlotte, and I'm promising to give them back to her today. That was about a month ago. That's the story on the ears. That came with it, and we've got, I can't remember the different articles. I just cannot recall what I got in that treasure chest, whether I got Mattel toys because they were sponsoring the show, I think at that point. I may have gotten one of their shoot and shell pistols along with it. I just remember this burgundy wood box. It was a nice solid wood box, and I kept throwing toys in it and kept it in the bedroom for years.
Now we can transition into Indian paint. I just
Yes,
wanted to know.
that
Oh,
was
because somebody
perfect.
did comment about that was interesting. You both were wearing Converse sneakers too. Because doesn't everybody call those Chucks?
Well, and I didn't even know what kind of sneaker I had on. That's amazing.
Well, you can see it in the video. That's why we were all laughing about that. Anyway, I'm going to disappear again now. Thank you.
Thanks, Ginger. She's always a good